In today's video, we're going to look at my bold business template, and this is the template that I'm probably most proud of. It contains all of the knowledge that I have about slide making and templates and boiled it down into this one. So what I'll do is I'll show you how you can get the most out of it. So how you can use it for your projects and really make it custom for you so it works every time for every type of slides. So to do that, first of all, we're going to look at customization. Customization is super important because we want to have our brand feel into it. We want to have our colors, our logo, our fonts into the template. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in just one simple click. It's super easy and very convenient. Then secondly, we're going to look at the demo slides, because this slide deck comes with hundreds of demo slides that have pre-filled in content that you can just grab and use and fill in your own content or images in super easy way. Then thirdly, we're going to look at the back end, because we don't only have the front end, we also have the back end of the presentation, the Slide Master, that is built on the core Microsoft Slide Master and expanded upon that, so you can use almost any other deck that is built in the same way and add your slides with that same logic. And I'll also show you how to customize it for slides that you need or common layouts that you'll encounter. And then four, we'll look at some troubleshooting. So if you encounter any issues, the most common issues, I'll try to handle them in this video so to give you an idea how you can solve them. Now just a heads up, you can purchase the template via the link in the description below. There you'll find all the information that you need, and you'll get the PPTX file as well as the POTX file for a template where you can just create slides that look good every single time. So here we are in PowerPoint, and first if I go to the overview, you can see there's hundreds of slides that have pre-filled in content with mockups that you can all use and really build your slides. All of the data that you see is all live. We'll dive deeper into that as well. Now the first thing you notice is that it uses the color blue, and that is because we have set up the color palette. So if I want to change that, what you can do is you can go to View, Slide Master, and then I go to Colors. I go to Customize Colors, and then here you can see one color. I've purposely chosen to work with only one color, so you can easily change it in just one click. If I click on this blue accent and I want to make it, let's say we want to make it green, and we want to make it a bold green, let's do that. Let's try to find a nice green here, just like that. And I do type in bold green, and I press save. You see that the entire slide deck changes. So I'll go out of the Slide Master and into the overview again. You see everything has changed to that green. And also the gradients. So we have those darker tones, those lighter tones, and everything has changed just with that one click, which makes it very easy to customize. You can just go to one of the slides, double click, and then add your own content and use that color palette. Now you don't have to use only blue or green. You can choose any color, just go to Slide Master, Colors, and then choose your own color palette that you like. If you prefer to have like a red tone and you want to make it very vibrant, you can add your own colors here as well. That is perfectly possible. If you use that color picker, you can use the exact custom code. And then we call this bold red template and press enter. You see everything nicely changes to that red. Close the Slide Master and then go here. So you see everything nicely changes with just one color. We also have that gradient in the background, gradient on the shapes, everything changes just with this color. Now you see in this template, I've worked with the Montserrat font. So there's two sort of fonts. In template, if you choose a text box, you can see it uses the theme font, which is Montserrat Regular, for both the headings and the body text. I've used that to keep it simple. It looks very nice, but you can just change it as you like. So you see all of the text in this document, it contains those body text for the body and then the header text for the headers. Now this means if you go to View and you go to Slide Master again, now besides colors, we also have fonts. So this is the Montserrat one. If you want to change it to Poppins, or maybe you want to change it to something totally different like Garamond, let's try Garamond. You see that the entire presentation has changed, and you see all of the fonts that are now being used are Garamond. So it's pretty easy if you want to change the entire look and feel of your presentation. Let me just go back to Montserrat, put that on this one. Sometimes the preview here on the left takes a while to update, but if you expand it and close it again, you see now this all has changed. So sometimes the preview takes a while, but it goes instantly in just a second in the live version here. So that is how you can easily add your colors and your fonts to the slides. Now, if you want to add your logo, for example, that is all perfectly possible in the Slide Master. So let me go to Insert, Icons, and here I want to choose a logo. So for that, I'm going to, let's say I want to go for a network logo. And if you want to use this as the company logo, I can just add it here on top, make it white. And then you can choose if you add it on certain slides in the Slide Master. You just add it there. So for us, it's the title slide, and I close it. And now this is engraved and you can't edit it in the front. So it's pretty easy if you want to have it on a fixed location. Now this is how you could customize it to fit your colors, fit your logo, fit your font. Now let's have a look at the demo slides and what we can actually do with those. So for that, we're also starting here in PowerPoint. And first I have the opening slide. So here you can see there's room for a title and there's room for a text box. Now this is pre-filled in. If you want to use the slide master or you use the title slide, this is what you get. So you get an empty slide and you can just start typing, add your headline in this box here and make it super long. So I'm going to exaggerate, but you see everything nicely shifts and automatically adjusts. So that's what we want to have. We want to make it pretty flexible, so we don't have to work too much with resizing and reshifting everything. And also here in the box, we can just add our content. So I'm going to copy this here and then show you exactly how that works. If I do it multiple times, you see it automatically shrinks and it automatically adjusts to that box. So even if you have long lines of text, it will adjust accordingly. And for the image, this one's pretty cool. If you have images in your folder, you can just drag in the image on the slide and it will nicely fill in. You can just use the crop section, so crop, and then adjust to adjust the position and then make it there. So you can just drag and drop your images in, which makes it pretty convenient and easy to work with. Cool thing is if you just press delete, it will delete that picture, but not the placeholder. And then you can, for example, change it with something else and then have a pretty nice looking slide in just seconds. Now this doesn't only work for those opening slides. What I've done is I've added image or image placeholders throughout the entire slide. So if you have a layout where you want to choose, maybe have a larger image, you can just use that and just drag in your image here as well and then adjust. If you want to crop it, you just crop it and resize and reposition. So you want to have this part of the image out, you just crop it out and it's a nice clean border. Then you type in your headline, you can just overwrite this text, maybe add another title in this box. And that is how easily you can add your own content to the slide. If you don't want it, you can always just delete it and delete the placeholder if you just want the title. Or you can add your own text boxes, that is all perfectly possible. Next, I've also added some agenda slides. So if you need an agenda for a presentation, very often I'll just show you this one. So go to agenda and you can add your agenda here and then start typing. So if you do lorem ipsum, $sit, and I copy it and I copy it multiple times. So if you have anything up to 8, 9, 10, that is perfectly possible. But let's say we have a super long agenda and we just copy all of the boxes and I just add them below. You see it will shrink. Now there's two things you can do. Either you can say, okay, I want to have them in 2 columns and this way automatically adjust to 2 columns. So it's pretty easy to sort of shift between those two and add those to the slide. So if you have long, super long cases or agenda slides, you can always add them like here. And then we have some introduction ones. So you can, same thing, all of the images work pretty well with just drag and drop systems. You just drag them in from your folder and you start typing. And what I've done, if you want to have some text, some titles, some text below, you can use those. But maybe you want to have a few extra points, you can just override those as well. So depending on which layout that you want, you can just start typing and start creating. So you just pick one of the layouts that you like, start editing, start adjusting them. So I've tried to make them as flexible as possible. Here we have 8 points. There's SWOT analysis, there's timelines that you can all use and adjust. Also these, you can, if you need this exact number, you can use those. If you don't, you just delete them and you just center everything in the middle and really work with the easy drag and drop systems. You can work with the easy changing systems. You can add more text if you want and then just expand the box to have it increase in size. So it doesn't really matter. It's pretty flexible. If you have little text, if you have a lot of text, that will really do the trick for you. Now you can see there's multiple slides that all work in the same way. So you see the image placeholders, you see some drag and drop or adjustable sliders that you can just use, or you have like a nice quote that you want to adjust. You can just start typing in your own quote and it will look nice from the first try. So you see how nice this quote looks, and then you can just add some keywords, put them in that color, and because you are working with that color palette, with a custom theme, this will automatically look nice and in style with the brand. Even if you want to change the colors afterwards, that is no problem at all. You can just change the colors, go to design, and then we choose one of the bold ones, So let's say we choose bold bright red. And you see how everything changes in one click, even that quote. So even if you want to change it for an audience, for a specific occasion, you can just do it like this. I'll go back to blue and then let's continue this way. You see, sometimes it takes a little bit of a snap second to load. That all depends on PowerPoint. So sometimes you just need to close and reopen, but I've not experienced that too much. Usually it changes within a few seconds on that slide. It automatically changes. So that is pretty convenient. So without doing anything, it just loads. Cool thing here is if you have multiple images. So I'm just going to drag in 3 images to the slide. They will fill in all at once. So I can just drag in the images and they will all fill in all at once. Same goes if you have, for example, team members. You can do that here. Let me see if I can find some pictures of team members. And I go to insert icons and let's look for portrait of people. And we take maybe 1, 2, and then another nice one. Let's take this person here. Let's take her, and they will automatically fill into your screen. So you can still adjust, so you can just crop it. And then while changing the cropping aspect ratio, it doesn't change the placeholder. You can change the placeholder if you want to make it larger or smaller, that is possible, but automatically the cropping is set. So you can just crop the image, position it in the middle, delete it if you want, and everything stays in place. If you don't need those, you can delete them again and then have a clean working sheet. But also for that, there's like layouts that you can change with title only, title, subtitle. So it's trying to be as flexible as possible. Now the cool thing is, if you, let me just put those back. If you say like you have filled in everything for the 3 people and you're like, I should have had 4, and you just change the layout from 3 to 4, everything remains in place. So all the images, all the text, and it just adds an extra box. And you can add that extra person. If you then want to change it back to the 3, that is all perfectly possible. So you just delete the content and change it in between. So I try to make as many variants as possible with that same logic of the images, of the placeholders, so you can really navigate towards through the layouts here. You see all of these layouts, we'll look at that in a second, how that works. So this is how the slide or the demo slides work. You see, if you scroll down, slides with images for mockups that you can use with phones, with tablets, you can all use those. There's even charts. So if you go to the chart section right here, this is all live data. So if you go to chart design, go to edit data in Excel, and now the peak is around 40, 45 something. So let's change that and add like an extra tab in between. So I'll do that on the other screen. And if I change the tab to, let's say I add another peak of 50, then that should change the live here. And then we have the peak of 50. So I'm just changing that in Excel live here, and you see it automatically shift in PowerPoint. So that is pretty cool. Now also for this, I'll just duplicate this slide, and you see that we're working in one file. So I'm using the slide layout, title and content. That's the basic version of the PowerPoint slide. Now, if I want for some case to have a title on the side or to content, I can just change it to content and have everything sort of squished. Now it all automatically happens. So if I change this text box and I need a little bit, I can just adjust the existing slides and then start typing here, add another point, add extra information. So you see how easy it is to sort of get a pretty cool design and a pretty flexible design. If you want to change this back to maybe, for example, a comparison where you have titles on top, that is possible. Or you go to the to content again. Maybe you realize I don't need it. Change it to full screen or change it to title on the slide or on the side. And then you can adjust it with your own content. So it's pretty flexible to create some really cool looking slides. Same goes for these. So those are all dynamic data. Those ones are difficult to create with dynamic data, but since they're only one number, you can just adjust it like this. So if we want to set it on 80 or 94, you can do it like that. So it's like with an easy construction of shapes that you can do this and generate this in your slides. For those, if you, let's say you want to have 32, you can, those are shapes. So they sort of mimic that chart, that bar chart. So that's how you could change these. Same with the numbers. So right here, if I just Ctrl+Shift+C the formatting and take 3 less, I think that should have been 73. So that goes to 70 and there you have it. If you want to have, you just paste it like this and type in 50. So that's how you could easily do it and change it. And also made an inverse one. So I tried to create some variations in the template, in the style, so you can easily navigate through it. You can easily pick and choose whichever ones you like. There's also pretty cool ones like the tables. So those are also tables constructions in or using that standard table function, but designed in a nice way. So you can add your own data. Even in like a large, you can select maybe an entire column, or you can select an entire row if you want, and just copy paste your data in there. So it's pretty easy, pretty convenient to add your own data. And also those work in the same way. So it exists of one box. And if you want to change that to content, you could squeeze it in. Here I added a little bit of a banner behind it, but you see with only a few clicks and a few tweaks, you can really have that data looking nice, or that slide data looking nice in just a few clicks. And then we have an entire section of bento cards. So I try to group them a little bit, the slides. So if we look here, we see slides of general use, headlines, SWOT analysis, timelines, quotes, all the ones that you use with a lot of content. Those are in here. Then I have section 2, which is the mockups. Those contain all of the images. That makes it easy for you to find. Section 3 is tables and charts. So you can find all the live data charts here. And then we have some tables at the end, also editable. So nothing too fixed. You can just add your own content. And then bento cards and designs. So all these sort of card designs, sort of box designs that you have. Same here, you just see it consists of boxes. So you can just type in your own content. If you only need 2 or 1, you can easily replace those and recenter them. And within a few seconds, you have quite a cool design for your slide. So that is why I try to add so many demo slides to it. So you can just pick and choose if you want to build your own content. Same with the cards, the maps, I mean. So if you want to have the US, see, this is all editable data. You can just reposition, you can just reframe everything, make it go across the borders. And if you put it on full screen, it looks kind of nice. So that's what I wanted to do to make it really flexible for you to use and customize. And then at the bottom, there's some visuals and visual heavy slides. So you see all of these designs, they contain like a lot of picture placeholders. This is pretty cool with all the different cards. There's so many animations that we can add to it. If I go to insert icons and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I, for example, do nature and I select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all at once, that's all I do. And you see how it now live adds to those cards. So if you imagine if you do that with your products, it's a pretty cool design. It's a pretty easy way to add your products here. And then you can just delete those and just keep the placeholders, and maybe you do like a few other ones and you test those. So you see, it's pretty cool to do it that way. Same with those sort of Apple designs. Oops, went too fast there. With those Apple designs, you can drag in your pictures, you can add your content. That is all possible. Picture walls. There's many different layouts that you can choose from. Also, this one I added, which is like a calendar, a live calendar that you can use for 2026 with all of the data. And these are adjustable boxes, so you can just drag it to another place and then change the font color to really make it match. But if you have an event and you want to communicate like the start or event date, I've made one for each month, so you can easily drag and drop, scale up or down all of these cards and these boxes to really have like flexible agendas, and it makes it nicer to just demonstrate a timing. And then we have some icons for good use, like people, transport, office, buildings, like all the common ones that you can just drag into your presentation and give it any color that you like. If you want to make it orange, that is possible. Oh, you have to do the shape fill. So if you want to make it, that is possible. Try to keep it blue or white in that same color. So whatever you change afterwards, it all adjusts as one. Now, what I like most about this template is that it's using these standard versions as PowerPoint intended it, which means if you use a non-branded version of PowerPoint, or if you use one of the decks that you can see here with the title, and add your title in this box, and then a subtitle, add your subtitle to this box here. It can be long. That really doesn't matter. I'm going to make it extra long to sort of show you the effect that it has. And then we make another slide, maybe like this. Add your content title here. Bullet points, even though we don't want them. Another bullet point for info. And then I'm just going to copy that 2 times. So you'll see we have 2 slides like this that don't look formatted at all. So I'm going to copy them and then jump back into the other presentation here. So I'm going to minimize that and I'm just going to add them in. So I'm going to hover in between the slides and Control V. So you see the title here. I just select this one, change the layout to title slide, and you see how this contains the content, and we can just add in our image. Let's say like this, boom, and we have our slide available. And also here you can see that it's automatically taking that format. Now, if you don't like the bullet points or if you want to change it, you can always make it, for example, go to this one and then add your image to the slide. And there you have it. Now, if you don't like that, you can just delete it, change the layout to title and content, and maybe you want to add some more text to it. You see, it just works like any regular presentation. I just want to mention that there's two files that you get in this package. First of all, there's the PPTX file, that's like the presentation file as you know it. And then there's also the POTX file. That one you can add to your template folder and it will automatically be in your standard templates from PowerPoint and open up a new slide. That is the one without the demo slides, but what you can do is you can just open that one up for new presentations, for example, and then just drag in the demo slides that you have. That way you don't have to work with like a huge file of hundreds of slides and delete everything all at once. You can just start from a clean slate, build your presentation and drag in what you need. If you use your POTX file, so that's this one. And if I now go here, let's say I take these slides and then I take one with the mockup and one with the chart and I just press Ctrl C. And now I go into that new file and I just press Ctrl V. You see how everything changes and how it just adds and nothing changes basically. So it keeps all that layout and you can just add your content. And then you just drag in your image, paste it in here, and you see how fast you have like a slide deck that you could use, and that looks quite nice. So that's the convenience, and this way with the POTX file you can always start from a clean file and just copy in the slides that you need. So these are the demo slides, the one on top, the front end. Now let's have a look at the back end. So if you want to change the slide master, I'll show you a bit my logic behind it and how you could change it if you want to. So for that, we're going to look at these slide layouts, and they're in the master, but if you want to see them in one glance, you can click on layout. And these are the standard ones. So you might recognize them. I've just recolored them a bit, repositioned them a bit to make them look nice. So we have a title slide, that is a standard one. Title and content, section header, to content, comparison, title only, blank. You recognize these 9 standard ones from PowerPoint. And then I've added multiple ones like 3 images, 4 images, images split like this bento pattern, the cards, the boxes. You see all of these layouts that are very often and very commonly used, like an image on the left and title and subtitle on the other side, or switch them around. I've made them so they're very easy for you to reuse. So for that, you can go to View, Slide Master, and here you find all of the slides and the logic behind them. So these are the standard ones, but then I've made extra ones like this, where you have a nice title, subtitle, and a picture placeholder with the rounded corners, so everything looks modern, everything looks smooth, but also the other way around. I don't know why PowerPoint doesn't add those as a standard. Those just make your slides look so good. If we just go for one of those and add it like that, and I just add an image, let's say this, add your title here in this box, and everything nicely shifts. Even if it's long, I mean, you can just add so many titles here. It looks pretty nice, but then maybe you want to change it to the other way around. You just do it like that, and you see everything nicely shifts, nicely adjusts. You don't have to worry too much about it because we work with those same elements. So no matter which style you want to go for, you want to make it dark, there you go, you have it. So by using those elements in a smart way, in a clever way, you can easily go from light to dark, or you can go to an entirely different format. If it doesn't fit, you'll notice it very fast. But you can just go to one of the other ones and just recorrect it. So it's pretty convenient to jump in between those layouts and make it look pretty nice in a very fast way. So let's go back to the slide master. And here you see, so it consists of titles, subtitles, and then some images. And then I've made some variations that you can choose from. This was the agenda slide. So if you ever want to change anything to those, you can all do that here. If you don't like the rounded corners, you can just turn them off. I kind of like that style, but if you don't, you can just turn it off like this and it will change automatically on all of your slides. So that is pretty convenient if you ever want to change that. I'll just put that back. And then here as well, if you have 4, if you have 6, maybe you have 8 in the future and you always work with 8, what you can do is you can just put them a bit more to the side and see if it fits. And otherwise you just remake that. You make everything just a bit smaller and then you just copy it until it fits. Of course, you have to do the alignment right. You have to be a bit careful of that. But if you do it like this, you have your 8 slide. Rename it and give it 8 split if you want. So this is how you could change it if you want. Now, as the last point, I want to show you the troubleshooting and what happens if you encounter some issues that don't really work. And the first one is colors that don't change or fonts that don't change as the way you like it. So let's see how we solve that. And for that, if you're in the presentation and if you encounter something that looks like this, let's say we add a shape and we make it a yellow. and then we change the words and we make this, let's say, red, one of the colors that is not in the template yet. And you change your entire design. So you change the colors to maybe like bold purple, and you see those colors don't change. And that is because they were not from that original palette. So you need to have one of those colors and change those in the palette. So if I change the ones to orange, so I take one of the theme colors and I then go to design, variants, and I customize it. And I customize this color to maybe it's a bright orange, and I save it. You see how it nicely changes? And that now adjusts in the entire deck. So as soon as you change that, it will adjust automatically. So if any part is not changing the way you want it, it's probably because you're not using that exact theme color. And the same goes with the fonts. If I just pick a regular font and I go from something from the list here, let's say I try this one. And if I change the fonts to maybe Garamond, we do that one again. So if I go to Garamond and I change it, you see this one doesn't change with it. And that is because it's not labeled by PowerPoint. It's not labeled as that specific font. So it doesn't recognize it and it won't change it. So I'm just going to undo that and make sure that you have the heading selected. So make sure you have the heading selected and the body for the body text. That is very important. Now, another point, if you made too many changes and like this, you want to change some colors and you want to have the standard layout again, you can always go to reset and it will reset everything automatically. If you play around with, for example, the positioning, and you were like, I preferred the original version, like the one with the smaller banner, you don't have to manually drag it. You can just go to that reset button and it will reset it to the automatically to the original layout of the slide layout. So that one here, which is this one in this case. So that's pretty convenient as well. So those are the most common issues that I see when it comes to slide design. If something doesn't change, it's either your color, it's your font, or it's the slide layouts. You can just change them or make sure that they belong to a theme, both color and font, or that they belong to that slide layout, and you can just reset that if you want. Now, as a closing word, what I would like to say is feel free to explore with it. Explore with the slide layouts, explore with the demo slides, and really try to use them to your advantage. There's so much you can do with this template, so try to make the best out of it. If you have any questions or if there's something missing that you would like to see, feel free to let me know in the comments below and I'll happily add them.